Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. Is it really Janis Reed? Is she back joining us here? Yes, it is.
Well,
So excited to
that's
have
me.
her here. And yeah, she's Heyoka. She's going to tell you a little bit about what that means as a storyteller, as an empath, and all that she does. Welcome back. Great to see you today.
Oh, I'm excited to see you, Jill. It's been a long time since we girls have talked.
I know. And I mean, there's so many hats that you wear as a psychic medium, as an empath. How would you introduce yourself to new listeners today?
Hi, I'm Janis. And it's kind of comes out sort of like it sounds, like I'm a
Yes.
Janus. I look at things backwards and forwards, kind of like the Janus Gate at the back of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I love it.
it turned out I got hit by lightning and danced with that for a few hours. So now I'm Heyoka. Um, there was more to that than just that. I had
I
to
know. I know. We can.
recognize, but and I've spent so many years trying to figure out, what does one do with this information? It's not like I can, find a job in the newspaper. But as I have gotten over myself, because it's kind of exciting to find out that there's a reason why I'm Screwball. I'm Heyoka. And
Mhm.
there's a reason the lightning's chased me around and still disturb my children. There's a reason for all that. I like that. It gave me something that I could actually say, okay, that's me. Because people tried to call me a nut. Well, that fits actually. Crazy, that actually does fit. That's what Heyoka means.
Mhm.
That I was just a nut job, head case, airborne. But it was because I was different. And there was nothing, I did never find anybody that I could relate to. So for all I knew, what everybody was calling me was true.
Until that one day you met that man.
Yeah.
I kind of
Yeah.
remember the story.
Well, the guy comes up to me at a bar. You got to wonder about any man that walks up to you at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning in a bar. And the first thing you should wonder is, why are you there
Mhm.
at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning? Turned out I was there to meet this guy. We'll chop off all the other parts. The guy comes walking into a bar at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Little red man, and I say that literally and with great love in my heart. He's actually not much taller than me, and I haven't hit 5 foot in a long time, so we were both very small people. And he had this big tall hat on, and he walks up to me just out of the literally the clear blue sky, and he says, I just came to tell you you're not crazy, you're a Heyoka. I didn't know it at the time, but he was a man of some importance in his tribe, which later explained to me why he managed to find me in the middle of nowhere at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. And he introduced me to the patrons of the bar, and they all knew what Heyoka was apparently, and raised their beers and laughed and smiled and cheered me on. And took years to figure out what he had called me, because I'm from the South, we call everybody something, and that sure didn't sound Heyoka and honey. Just I don't know if that compared. But I got into healing. I got into sound therapy, dream recollection, past life recollection, uh, hands on healing, distance healing, healing with smells, gongs, and dingers, until I finally settled on just telling stories. And when I started doing that, then that kind of fits me naturally. My family did not have money, so we grew up learning how to make do or to do without. But I never knew that we were lacking because we did a lot. We were from the swamp and the coast, so we went fishing and we told stories. Oh my God. One of the reasons I married my first husband was because he could tell that story about the little red pocketbook. I was enamored. So thanks to my parents, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins that used to scare the bejeebers out of me, we'd set up boogeyman fires in the backyard or in the field and tell stories. And us kids would go to sleep scared to death that the boogeyman was going to eat us. So we'd go climb in bed ourselves and leave the parents out there, which as an adult, that was probably the goal all along. As I got older, doing massage therapy and telling people stories as I did their massage, things that would come to me. I was putting three and four together and coming up with my number. People were getting something from the stories that I didn't expect. The particular story I was drawn to tell any one person at a time, started providing them with answers to some deep, serious questions that some of them had been afraid to ask, because who can you trust to ask some of those questions? Means there are some, I really believe it's true that all of us have one or two that we'd really like to know the answer, but we're too embarrassed to say that we want to know the answer for lots of reasons. But the stories were answering them. And they, I give these huge tips. So cutting away all the other stuff that, yes, I can do, I have always done. I'm the weird little child. My mother always just tried to, keep me quiet in a corner so nobody would notice the strange one. I just became who I am. I just got tired of trying to fit in. I realized a lot of people didn't really like me from a day to day thing anyway, and I didn't really like most of them because I felt bad. They kept, I needed to be who they thought I was. And because I can be just about anybody needs, that's sort of the deal with the Heyoka business. If if spirit says, okay, today you're going to sell cars, by golly, I'm going to go sell a car. It's just weird. I got feeling like I was used instead of known as a person. So I just backed out, came up here, and I've been living on this mountaintop for about 20 years now. It's been great. It's let me relax. And I've started to just tell stories in earnest. I want to
And
be of good service.
and how do we contact you?
Oh, you asked me the hard question.
That's not
Uh,
the hard question, is it?
yeah, it is. It is because
Email,
I
phone
can't remember.
number.
Email, phone number. Give me an email. Call it
Hmm.
GODDESSJANIS, Janis, 2 at outlook.com.
Perfect.
Um, I did have to change all that. I got hacked really bad down to my server. So I have
Ah,
the new address in an effort to protect everybody else so that nobody gets anything from me.
mm-hmm.
I've had my shots.
Yeah. And let me just ask, the last time we spoke, quite a few months ago, was it your husband? Was he sick? Did he pass?
Not yet.
He was
We're
very
looking at
sick,
it
and
like he's on the clock.
yeah, you were
Um,
mentioning he's
it's a
close.
strange thing. It's a strange thing because even as he fights the inevitable, and he swears he's going to live to 110, he's not quite 80, so it could happen.
You never know. Yeah.
You never know. I'm listening to spirit on one side, and I'm listening to him on the other side. And it's sort of like standing between your sisters while they're arguing. You just leave me out of it. Um, it's interesting how we design our lives, and then incidentally, at the last minute, we realize this is how we've designed our ending as well. So he is in his stage show here, and it's not much room to rewrite the scripts. It's pretty much written. So we're trying to be graceful. Right now, while I talk to you, he's out in my she shed, taking it apart, looking for something of his. And I'm letting him do it because, well, as the doctor told me yesterday, it's still not legal in this country to put him in a paper sack and just staple it shut.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, when you get married and it says, till death do we part, for richer or poorer, for better or worse, y'all think about that before you sign up because it does. Uh, it's interesting. It is a mind consuming, curious. It's like I'm watching a science fiction movie starring moi. So I'm watching change. I'm looking at it how a lot of other people are changing too. losing their homes, their loved ones, themselves, their children, for one reason or another. And it hurts my heart. This wasn't the life I had when I was 6 years old. Um, Vietnam just hit, we had that, and monks immolating themselves in the street. But we didn't have people going and shooting up the schoolhouse. We weren't just being mean to each other. Some people were mean, but not as a country. It just, it's not very, I feel ungrounded a little bit watching, trying to connect his demise with the demise of other things, even as I know that the reason things go away is so that there's room for something else.
Beautifully true. Oh, well, thank you for sharing that and
Yeah.
wishing you all the best. Wow.
Me too. I wish I
d-
had married a rich man, but
Me
that's
too.
not in
I'm
the cards
still
either.
trying. I've never been married. I can't find them rich or poor. So
Oh man. I was looking at George Clooney today. There was a picture of him with his beautiful wife Amal, and you're kind of young. But George Clooney was famous. He refused to get married. He was
Mhm.
going to be the last. So you can follow George Clooney, because when he
No,
finally found the right one, man, that is a beautiful,
dove
beautiful
right in and had the twins. Yep.
man. Oh yeah, and they're connected too. They're not just lovey-dovey for the screen. When you see them from behind, they're leaning into each other. They're connected. So I would wish that on you.
Thank you. Maybe you could help channel the love.
Who do I know?
Well, you have this innate gift to connect, right? To those that are past, those that are future, those. So, do you help people with relationships too? I mean, is that something that you can do?
Yeah, much. Not in a straightforward way so much like I'm going to help you with John,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
but
but
but I can help you re-see yourself
yeah, maybe what's
and put a different value on John.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes the value is greater than we thought, and a lot of times we are more valued than what we're letting get by us. So my dad laughed at me when I started telling stories like this. He said, "Well, honey, that's just all we did. That's how you growed up. You're not doing anything special." And I realized that, man, that must mean not too many people are telling stories like I grew up listening to. I learned to make sense of the world from stories. I learned math. I learned algebra because the guy was clever enough to tell it in a story form. That's how my information clicks. I'm visual and I'm auditory. And so I just do what I like and hope somebody else likes it too.
And what message do you want to share with our listeners about the work you could do and how you help them being Heyoka? What are the things that you normally work with people on? And how does
Mm.
it work to work with someone like you?
I have no idea what it's like to work with someone like me.
It's got to be good. I love talking to
Oh
you. Come on,
gosh.
you're an amazing
But
soul.
but other people tell me the skinny is, the rumors are, um, I just put people in a relaxed mood. Medicine always goes down when it's easy. Um, hmm. Tell me your question again. Boy, I got all lost and sideways.
Oh, I just wanted to know how you're helping people connect
Mhm.
and in what
See, I don't know
ways.
that.
Go
I don't
ahead.
know that either, but it seems to work. My joy has been in my own little gig I've created for myself, uh, to remind people of their choices and their own internal power. This is a big deal. All these religious people are just sliding right over this with a nasty shoe smear from the park. The way that I was taught, the way that I knew before I was introduced to the Bible, I knew that the life I had here was somehow a continuation of the one I had before. I missed that whole part about being born and forgetting the past life. I just, it's all smeared in together. We are We're designed to have fun, to enjoy. But in the very beginning, after that first word, we're given free will. At birth, this is in Janis world, okay? I don't want any nasty letters. It's just Janis world. We are born and become apart from our mothers when we exit her body and God gives us that first breath of life. Up until that point, we are a very nice package, but we're empty. Machinery and doctors don't create the life and keep it pumping. They need to have a viable human being. Then that child needs to breathe on its own. And with that first breath comes free will. Child can accept that breath or hold its breath and turn blue and not come alive. Free will is blown into us and creates us with that first breath. I believe this with everything I've ever had. Up until that, we're mom's pet project. You know, we converse and we're a part of her. But until we are no longer a part of her, you know, once we are, we are. Let's, you know, and I'm not for baby. Women have to do what they need to do in order to stay healthy and for their families to stay healthy. That's why it's the woman's choice, in my small opinion. But to have free will, every child is given that with that first breath. And that is one of the first things that the government wants to take away from us. Mama said, don't do that. Daddy said, I'll better not. Then you get older and the government says, no, that's not allowed. And we're submitted to someone else's free will and supposed to give up our own. This is like in my throat here. God gave a woman free will, and some man wants to take it away because it's politically apropos. Stop. That's my basic bandwagon. I can't help it. It makes a difference to me that life be respected and authentic and not made at Walmart. Yes, these things sometimes need to happen, and God bless the scientists for being able to do things to help women have families, men have families. But the natural gig is the free will that comes with that first breath. That's important. If we do not operate with our own free will, then we are enslaving ourselves to somebody else's. Now, when we're a little bitty and we're youngins, we're supposed to do that because mama will take a shoe to our backside. We learn our perimeters. As we get a little older than that, we go out and test those perimeters. We can either then be told or help to tell. One or the other. You know, we can control or be controlled. There's leaders and followers. But all of us, especially the followers, should be doing what we're doing because we choose to do it, not because we are compelled, forced, made to feel like that's the only gig in town. I really believe people can have great lives doing what they're really good at and have all of our needs met to a great degree. Letting people do what we do best. We have great families. We make amazing gardens. Oh my God, can I make a lemon meringue pie?
Aw.
We could, you know, and so I try to encourage people, do what you love, do what makes your body feel good, because that will be the thing you do the very best. And that will be the thing that makes you shine out over everybody else and be seen, utilized, appreciated. When we're authentic, we are adding authenticity to the world. Don't get me started, but that's another thing we need. So one of my gigs is I got a phone call one day and somebody said, "Hey, you want to do this podcast?" And I thought, I can't afford a podcast. I can't afford shoes, and so I did it anyway. And here I sit talking to
Yeah.
you, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to try to touch more ears and hearts than what I've been able to do here up on alone on my mountaintop, to spread the word, do the right thing, do what you hope someone would do for your child. You'll do the right thing, especially if you like your child. We can work for other people if we work with them. Other people can work with me, but only if I work with them. Not totally without a leader, but a lot less leadership would help us all if we would remind ourselves that each one of us is a leader in something.
And we all, how would you say, have a unique gift. Everyone, especially, even though some people we envy others or what they have, but the truth is, we all have something. So we could admire it in someone, but we shouldn't be jealous. We should celebrate them for their uniqueness and not
Really?
be jealous, right? Like, yeah,
It's
support
hard
this.
for me, but my brother is a much better cook. And so I have to support and enjoy and celebrate. He's a great cook. I can burn a TV dinner. We all have things we do great. Doesn't have to be a great big job. Doesn't have to be the president of the university or a president at all. It can be the dishwasher
Hmm.
or the janitor or the car parker. It can be you. And that's my gig.
Oh, and that
What do you think?
smile, you just always are. Do you always make a positive? Do you have bad days? Or are your bad days always
Oh
on
my
a
goodness. I have had such bad days that I've developed kind of a split persona. I've had deep, dark discussions, which I shouldn't say dark, with my psychologist.
Mhm.
um, but it's a part of my survival routine. I really have been through some heavy stuff. Um, and my husband currently is just one more thing. I had my head knocked off by one of his billy goats one year.
Ah,
Just weird, heavy duty stuff. And I've lived in this is the 36th place I've called home.
mhm.
Where I got mail at. The
Oh,
sixth
wow.
the sixth country. But the thing that brings everybody together is the relationship we share, the stories that we share about ourselves with each other. So I've really not had very many bad neighbors because once I can get their ear, I can share conversations, share stories, share free will. And I've learned all sorts of things and met all sorts of people. And so many of them are worse off than me that it's kind of nice to just smile and appreciate that we're all breathing. We're all still pulling. We're not giving up yet. It's an encouragement and it's a nice reflection for me to look back at. Usually when I see someone, I really appreciate that person. My day would be missing something if I didn't see that person like you. There'd be this big, you just wouldn't be here today, but I'm with you. That improves my life. Input, good input. What we put out, we get back. So if I smile at you, you have this big, beautiful smile you get back. Who wouldn't want that? It's cheap enough. And as someone once told me in the grocery store line at about 2 o'clock in the morning, if people see you smiling all the time, they don't like to stand in front of you in line. Uh, I learned out later that her stage name was Roberta Flack. But we'd go
Oh,
grocery shopping.
yeah.
We go grocery shopping together, show up at the Grand Union at 2 o'clock in the morning at the same time. And she taught me all kind of interesting things about human nature. Uh, we just hit it off. Neither one of us, I don't think, really knew the other one's name. She didn't dress like a famous person when she came grocery shopping. Uh, but
Wow.
she reminded me that people will look at us and see one thing, and they're very content with that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you break out of that mold and they hear or see you as something else, it makes them question themselves, makes them a little bit uncomfortable. And so they'll let you go in front of them in the grocery line. True story.
Well, thank you so much. I apologize. That's amazing. I want to hear more about that. But we're out of time. How do we reach you?
Find me on Facebook. Just go janisreed.com. Janis Reed at Facebook or janisreed.com. Let's see, we did the email, goddessjanis2 at outlook.com. Because of my husband's health, I'm still hesitant giving out my phone number, but shoot me a message. I do not have text or Twitter or any of that. I'm literally in the top of the mountain peaks. I am at the top of the mountain, just below it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no cell phone service here at all. So I am old school 20th century. But my phone goes ring, ring. I don't have to do this.
Good. Well, thank you so much. I love it. And pleasure having you back, Janis Reed, our goddess. And your email is what?
GoddessJanis2 at outlook.com. Spell it right. It's a goddess, Goddess. The last name is Janis.
Perfect.
Numeral 2. Yeah, Mama said
Aw,
it wasn't
thank you.
nice. I'm ice.
Aw, thank you
I'm
so
so glad we
much.
got to talk. Thank you for talking with me today.
Thank you
Let
so
me
much.
ramble. I hope you're
Pleasure
great.
having you back and rambling. No, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, I
Have a
hope to see you
fantastic
soon.
day, okay? Thanks
You too.
again.
Let's enjoy it. Bye.
Same here.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.